Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience.
What's the word, man? Where you at?
I'm in my house. Go figure. I'm in my house. I don't leave this house often.
Yeah.
Where are you? You're in Vancouver.
I'm in my apartment, Vancouver.
Was this a temp apartment, or is it something you've had for a long time?
Both. I mean, when we are we starting? You want to start?
I mean, it's always starting. I mean,
okay, all right, yeah. I'm in my apartment where I got it. So I have this pretty awesome apartment in Vancouver that's been my home away from home. But it started out as a temp apartment. The owner landlord, who's a friend of mine, my friend Marshall, his prior tenant was leaving, and he was like, well, I was going to move back, but he has a place up in Pemberton or Whistler. He was like, well, I thought this was season we were pregnant with Shep. So this would have been 2013. And I was like, listen, man, we're in season 6 or 7, whatever it was. I might need it for another year, maybe 2 years. He's like, that's fine. That's good. So fast forward, 8 years later, 7 years later. And, he's the best guy on the planet. He's the nicest guy. And he's sort of like, all right, well, you need to re-up. And so it became kind of a more permanent living situation, but it's still, I mean, I'm in my, let's do this. I'm in my master bedroom at my apartment, but I'm legitimately in a sauna blanket. I
was just watching that. I was like, what is he? Is that an ice pack? You've got a sauna blanket.
Yeah. by the way, I have no affiliation with them, no plugs, but there's an infrared sauna blanket from Higher Dose that I heard, Ben Greenfield, I read his books. I heard him on a Rogan podcast. He's like a biohacker, and I'm a big fan of his. But he talked about this infrared sauna blanket. And so Jen and I are lucky enough to have an infrared sauna at our home in Austin. And so I travel with this. So I roll it up in a suitcase. And then, if we're doing a convention or something in Chicago, we're filming in Vancouver, I'll bring this and I'll get to wherever I am, check into the hotel, and I'll plug this in and preheat it up.
To what? Does this tell you the temperature?
All right. Well, you're about to see my bedroom. So I have my.
Well, it won't be your bedroom for long.
Yeah, I think another 2 weeks. So you just plug it in.
Plug it in.
It just goes into the wall and plugs into the blanket.
Are you naked under that?
I'm not. So you can't be naked because it gets hot, right? So I'm wearing socks. I have a towel that I put my feet in, socks and sweatpants and a little under.
And how is it just filled with sweat at the end?
It's pretty gnarly. Yeah, it's pretty, but you open it up and you dry it off with a wet wipe or whatever. I mean, wet wipes are hard to find these days because of COVID. So I just kind of wash it down, but I'm closed. So you don't want your skin touching and usually you go full cocoon. Like I'm a full caterpillar,
right,
about to, come into my own as a butterfly. But for now, I
love that you're blanket saunaing. Well, why wouldn't you? Is it, by the way, does the lethargy kick in? Are you tired after, or does it invigorate you? Do you need a shower after?
I think it depends. I mean, I do shower after, but these days, I mean, by the way, remember that when Ackles and I flew up here on August 2nd, we had to quarantine in our apartments for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So no going into the hallway. And it's really funny because we flew in and the customs agents we saw, they were like, listen, because he brought his dog up, I brought my dog up, and they were like, well, listen, when you walk your dogs, just be very careful. The dogs can't socialize, dogs can be carriers.
Oh, shit.
And Ackles and I had read through the regulations, restrictions, a dozen times. And we were like, wait, when we walk our dogs? And they're like, yeah, just be careful. We don't really have COVID-19 here in Canada yet, and we're trying to keep it from coming in. We're like, we get it. And so we told our production coordinator, Fisher, we were like, hey, man, the customs agents seem to think that we can walk our dogs. Will you look into it? He was like, yeah, I'll look into it. And they were like, listen, you can, but, well, you can't. By the rule of the law, you cannot leave. I couldn't go to my hallway. I couldn't go. My garbage is down the elevator, and so I wasn't allowed to do that. Luckily, I had a dog walker who came twice a day for my dog, and she would drop it off, and she'd be like, "Yeah, that's fine." And so I'd have all this garbage And she would come by and go like, yeah, cool, I'll drop it off on the way. Long story short, it was sort of one of those situations where we thought, well, some people think we can go outside, some don't. I don't want to risk it. And the fine, I think, the fine wasn't enormous. It wasn't like $1 million fine if you were caught outside. It was, I don't want to pay the fine, but the bigger problem was we got here on August 2nd, which was a Sunday. We had to quarantine for 2 weeks till August 16th, Sunday night, and then film on Tuesday. So if August 5th or whatever that Tuesday or Wednesday was, I decided to take my garbage out and an agent happened to be there, they would have restarted quarantine, which would have, messed up Supernatural's schedule and pushed everything another 4 days, 5 days. God forbid, you take your dog out to pee at midnight and there happens to be an agent there going like, hey, you're supposed to be quarantining. Like,
so you didn't do it.
I didn't leave. No, I didn't leave.
You didn't leave. I can't. I just can't even imagine. I can't. In my house, I can go outside. I can do things. Like, what day is it? Like, I watched that show Alone where they're alone for like 77 days.
Yeah.
I had the guy Jordan. I had Jordan Jonas on the show who won season 6.
Yes, I love him.
Dude, he was
a big fan.
Amazing, dude. He'll love you. Yeah, Jordan Jonas, man.
That.
Season 6.
Awesome.
He not only is he awesome, but he's like, yeah, man, I do these little things, these excursions, and I teach people survival. If you want your friends to come out, I go, if I flew you out here with some friends, would you do it? He goes, heck yeah, man. Let's just find a place. I'll come out with you and your buddies.
You call me. Can I come?
1,000,000,000%.
By the way, since I got here on August 2nd, I keep on saying that date, but my Genevieve and our kids have been watching Alone. And so they're like, and I was like, well, I know who wins. Like, don't say, Dad, don't say, Dad. Somebody killed a raccoon and a Tasmanian devil ate it or a Wolverine or whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to.
Just don't even say, it's mesmerizing too. And like, yeah. And I'm not, we can get into that. But.
I'm a partner though. By the way, my dog showed up. I got to give a shout out to Coda.
Coda, what's up, buddy? Oh my gosh, look at the little paw. Oh my God, that is the cutest little shepherd. That's a full shepherd, huh?
He is, yeah. So my dog, I had a shepherd mix that I got from the SPCA in Los Angeles when I was doing Gilmore Girls. In between scenes, being a guest star on Gilmore Girls, like number 8 on the call sheet, they were like, okay, here you are. We need you at work at 4 a.m. And then you'll finish that scene around like 10 a.m. And then we need you back at 8 p.m. I was like, all right. And so I went to the SPCA on Sherman Way. I lived on Fulton at the time, right up the block from Casa Vega. And so I just went straight up Fulton, took Sherman Way over to the SPCA and got Sadie. And this was June 6th, 2003. And she was a rescue.
Wow.
She looked like a shepherd, like really classic coloring, the brown, the black nose. She's
beautiful.
A much darker,
look at you.
Called Brindle or something. Anyways, so I got Sadie. And then last January, she was supposed to be, or she would have made it to 16 in March. And then in January, it was just that time. I mean, she was she was an awesome dog, but she also, I got her season 2 of Gilmore Girls and had her for 3 more seasons of Gilmore Girls. Then I had her for 14 seasons of Supernatural. She went to New York with me when I shot with Riley, New York Minute. She went to Virginia with me.
So your best friend pretty much.
She was my girl, man. Like I was single when I got her and she was around for everything.
How hard is it? Listen, because I was as close as you can come to losing my dog last week on Saturday. 12 years rescue, best friend Irv. And I lost my grandfather Irv in November, named my dog Irv. And he's like, what are you naming the dog Irv for? I'm still alive at the time. Anyway, so Irv, my dog, all of a sudden had this infection, almost died, 106-degree temperature, somehow turned it around. The best doctors, and like I still got him, and he's in the other room, and he's like on a lot of pills, and he's not in any pain. I'm not one of those owners who would let him suffer just because I want him alive. If he was suffering, I'm sorry, as hard as it would be, I would put him to sleep, but he's doing better. But how hard when Sadie passed, how hard was that for you? I know Sadie was 16 and old, but like what?
Yeah, it was the worst, man. But you know what? With are you saying Earth or Irv?
Irv, IRV, like Irving.
No way. Yeah. So Irv, you'll know. Irv will let you know. You know, that was my thing with Sadie, is she had lost her back hips a little bit. And I had this harness that we had bought, and you would kind of like hold her back hips and then the leash was attached to her, like a harness on her chest. And so she couldn't pee, she couldn't poop, she couldn't get out at night. But when I woke up and got to the living room here at the apartment, she'd look at me like, what are we doing? And so she wasn't in pain. And that was for a good, I don't know, man, like 4 or 5 months, where I was like, well, am I being an asshole? Because I'm so deeply
in love with this thing,
attached to this dog. Like, am I being a jerk? Like, I need to let her go to the next world with dignity and, you know, her own integrity. And then one day it just kind of like, one day I walked to the living room. I'm getting emotional. I'm already emotional now with the season ending.
Me too, man. I'm thinking about it right now.
Yeah. But one day I kind of got up and she was my couch here in the living room. I had to get Fernie pads, like furniture pads.
I got him too. That's what I have for Irv. Yeah, he's having problems walking.
And I put him on the couch, and so at night I would lift her up, put her on the couch because she couldn't hold her
weight.
Facilities. No, she couldn't.
Facilities. Yeah, that's it.
So I was like, well, all right. Like, and she was really embarrassed by it. Like, she was still mentally there. And then one day, every day I would get up and she'd kind of like wrench her neck around. She couldn't move her hips, but she'd wrench her neck around to look at me like, where are we going, Dad? Where are we going? And then one day she kind of looked at me like, hey, buddy, I'm ready. Yeah. There we go. And so that lasted for like 3 or 4 days. At first I was like, well, maybe she didn't sleep or something. And then probably like 3 or 4 days, same thing. And I was like, okay, like I'm going to let her go chase cars in the sky or squirrels in the sky or something. That was hard. It was real hard.
Did you take her in? Were you in there? Because some people will tell me you don't want to be in there. And then some people say you want to be with her for the last, you were there.
You want to be there. Yeah, you do. You just want to tell Irv, like, hey, dude, you've been the best, man. Like, my life is better. So many people's lives are better because you're part of it. And so I did. I had that moment with Sadie. And my friend Kelly was there, who Kelly's our on-set wardrobe, and she's become a dear friend. And you know how it is. When you're shooting, they're like, hey, here's your trailer. And set is a 20-minute drive away, and we're daylight dependent. And so Kelly, way back in season 1, she'd be like, hey, do you want me to take Sadie up for a pee break when you're on set? I was like, I would love that. And so then Sadie became like our dog. And so when I was on set, Kelly would take her. When I flew home to Austin to see Genevieve and the kids, she'd go to Kelly's house. Like, Sadie girl, man, I know I was her dad or whatever, but as soon as Kelly walked in the room, Sadie was like, Kelly's here. So anyways, Kelly and I were there, and we let her kind of go off. It was really tough, man. I'm sorry about you and Irv. I know nothing's happened yet, but when it happens, it was really tough at the time. I don't remember if it was a month or 2 or whatever, but there was a day when I woke up and I was done with crying and kind of moping. And I was like, you know what, man, my life is so much better. So many people's lives are so much better because Sadie was in it. So, and now it's just been smiles. But
I tell you, I could just hearing that story, you could just tell how much you love that dog. It's so obvious. Like, you know, some people say, oh yeah, it was good. Like, I could just tell. It's so visual. It's so, and by the way, I mean, I didn't even expect.
She's still with me.
Yeah, always. And I didn't expect.
Every time I talk to Coda, my new dog, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't even expect to talk about the dog and all this stuff. But hey, I love hearing it. It's a real thing. And you know, when you're back to your being in your place, you're Supernatural. You're on the last episode at this point right now.
We started it Friday, so today's Sunday. We started it 2 days ago.
Yeah, because you said a post. It was like a really nice post, right?
Yeah.
You said something as I head out to the first day on my last season finale. I can't help but be incredibly grateful for all that Supernatural and the SPN family. Yeah. How much they mean to me. It's been an incredible journey, to say the least. I, for one, am hoping that Supernatural never dies. What did you mean by that?
By which part? That was a long sentence.
I mean, the part where you hope Supernatural never dies. You hope hang on. Is it I just want it to go on forever in terms of the fans will always remember it in 30 years from now when I walk into it, you know, I'm a Supernatural, and it will just always be in people's minds and new generations. Is it that, or is it B, I'd like to come back and do a Supernatural movie, or maybe we'll do another season someday. Who knows? Or is it a combination of both?
Yes, and yes. Yeah, it was a difficult. I knew I wanted to kind of send something, and not even for me. Like I'm not a big poster guy, posting on social media kind of guy.
Right.
Like I just lose track. It's not that I don't. I think there's a lot of value in social media. Like I'd be lying if I didn't say I flip through Instagram and Twitter or whatever during takes. I just don't think about it. It's not something I don't know. I'm trying to psychoanalyze myself.
No, let me analyze you, because I by knowing you a little, I could see that you're a family guy. You get distracted by life and nature and things, and just like living. You're more in the present than you are always on your phone. Where someone like me lately, I've been like, I'm on the phone, I'm this and that, and I'm trying. Hence why I watched Alone and cry at every season. And I emailed Jordan after. I direct message him. This is why it works. Sometimes you direct message people and they're like, fuck off, or they don't respond. Sometimes you go, because, hey, I have a podcast that I love and I think, people, it's an interesting. And he immediately goes, man, I'd love to be on the show.
That's amazing.
He goes, yeah, man. Hey, cool.
I'm a big fan of his.
Me too. And a lot of people don't know him, but look, if you're listening to us, listen to the Jordan Jonas episode. It's great. He's a great guy. He's got a big heart. Yeah. And wait till you hear his story. I'm sure you know some of it, but anyway, let's not get into him.
I promise you this, man. As soon as we hang up, I'm going to listen to it.
Oh, you'll love it. Yeah. He's hilarious. Yeah. Good.
I think, what's funny is that I'm going to push back just because I don't disagree with you, but I'm trying to hash out my own feelings. But you were saying that, you lived in the moment for a while.
I want to connect more. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to connect more and more.
Here's what I'll offer. And here's what I'm trying to deal with right now. Saying goodbye to a friend of 15 years, the show, my character, Sam, like I know so well. I've never gone, I'm going off on a tangent a little bit. I've never gone 5 months without playing Sam Winchester, not since I was 22 years old. And I'm 38 now with a wife and 3 kids. And gray hairs they have to scratch out with a comb. Very humbling. But I would say this, man, like I think as actors, and you know this more than anybody, when they say, okay, rolling, action, you have to be in the moment. You have to. You can't think about like, oh, did I lock my door? Oh, I should have called my friend. Oh my God, my agent, I was supposed to call him 5 minutes ago. Oh, my taxes are due. You have to live right there in the moment. And I think it sounds like, and having known you for a while, you're that kind of person anyways. So that's your nature, but also your nurture right here. I mean, Michael Rosenbaum on Sunday at 11:19 Pacific time, you have 1,000 things you could be doing. If you were just laying in your bathtub, you have 1,000, 1,000 might be hyperbole or something, but
one thing.
Let's say you have 12 things that you could be doing.
Right.
Like, I got to send this text. I had 3 buddies text me when I was asleep. I got to respond to them all. But now you're here with me and you're with me and we're 1,000 miles away or whatever on a computer, but you're able to be present. And I think that's magical. There's a downside to that. There's a second edge to that sword, right? Where I'm really bad, and you know this, and you've teased me, and I think we've teased each other. Like, I don't answer phone calls. I don't respond to emails. I don't respond to texts. I get them, and then I go back to set, or I get them, and then pick my kid back up and jump in the pool.
Right.
And then I'll get to it later. So I feel like one of these things is we're sort of blessed and cursed by this idea that we are good at living in the moment. And I guess I'm grateful for it. I guess I've had to become grateful for it because I don't have another choice. It is my nature. It is my nurture. And so I don't know where I was really going with this, other than to say,
about being connected, about being why you're on Instagram.
Thank you. Right. Yes. So you were talking about your phone and being on your phone. And I would say that you're still connected to your phone. I would argue on your behalf that when you are on your phone, even if you're among a million people, there's a Michael Bublé song I used to listen to season 1.
Sing it, Jared.
I was embracing care. I ain't gonna sing it. I don't want people to tune out. But may be surrounded by a million people, I still feel all alone. I want to go home. And not that I'm feeling alone, but the idea that you're a singer.
No.
The idea that you can be in the most crowded room and still be in your head. The idea that you can have a million things to do and still choose to get on your phone. It's part escapism, I assume. I don't know. I'm still learning. But I think there's some magic also to, I'm going to commit, I'm on my phone. I'm not going to send just like smiley face emoji.
I'm going to write something.
Yeah. Like, hey, my buddy texted me. I'm going to process that. I'm going to take it in. I'm going to think of what I need to say. And I'm going to move forward. So I think
I hear you.
15 years. Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but to me, do you know what connection is? This is why I think I love the podcast so much. Honestly, I love doing this because I put these things on, and I've said it before, but I am zoned in. I'm listening and I'm enjoying, and I'm not really distracted. I'm listening to an old friend and hearing his story about his dog, and like I'm really connecting. Like, to me, this is maybe this is a weird way of me being able to connect to people. Maybe I should talk to my mom on my podcast, or my girlfriend. I don't have a girlfriend, but if I did, I could.
I'm not judging. I'm not inquiring or judging.
By the way,
whatever you want, Rosie.
But this is an email the email you sent, and I had your number. But you go, dude, I'm famously awful at checking my emails, and even worse at answering phone calls. So let's text this shit. I'm still at 47. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't. You looked up for a second. Well, he's not going to read his number. But by the way, I would have edited it.
Rosie, I was going to grab my phone and be like, don't.
Rosie, what are you doing?